Welcome to the Culturally Effed Laboratory. I am your host, RK, and today we'll be looking at some rad science. With the help of Nasi the Biology Gryphon, we'll be exploring how developing the technology could let you literally become your fursona, and maybe, just maybe, even conquer death itself. Which is the only way to ensure that nobody will ever steal your OC. So whether you're looking to transform yourself into a cat girl, or just install some robotic dragon wings, turning yourself into a furry IRL is culturally effed. This episode is produced in collaboration with Nasi, the Science Gryphon, you may know them as Entobird. Check out their channel, link in the description. So, you want to be an anthropomorphic animal? Live the furry dream? That's great, but how do we turn humans into anthros? Today we're talking transformation tech. We're focusing on those we could start developing today if we wanted, while more far-out tech like nanobots or brain uploading could also turn you into your furry. That's a little further off on the scientific horizon. It would also be one of the more normal things you would be able to do with those technologies. And for the sake of keeping this series at a reasonable length, we're sticking to stuff that would literally turn you into an anthropomorphic animal. Let's start at the basics. Animals have DNA. Humans have DNA. They're technically compatible at the molecular level. Maybe we can put animal DNA into your DNA so you turn into an animal person. The bulk of your DNA would stay the same. You'd only have to change 10% of your DNA to become a house cat or 15% to become a mouse. We're not even trying to make you completely into a cat, so the percentage of change would be even lower than that. Praxis, copy, paste DNA. Excellent. The first problem you run into is that we are not super good at gene therapy yet. But what, you say? Scientists can make rabbits glow in the dark. Surely we can do that to turn me into a raver version of serial mascot tiger. Experiments like that would require us to inject fetuses with gene therapy treatments while they're still developing. Unless you have a time machine handy, you're not going to get your stripes that way. So how much can an already existing person, which our viewership is largely made up of, get genetically altered? Well, one technique would be to create a virus that would inject all your cells with very carefully modified animal DNA. You could tell your lip hair to grow into whiskers, for example. A few tech challenges await us here. The virus would need to infect a large fraction of your cells. Viruses are bad at infecting multiple kinds of cells. Your immune system is super good at stopping that. The virus would have to get the right DNA to the right cells. You'd probably want to spread the DNA across several viruses, each programmed to only infect one type of cell. It also needs to not kill you, ideally. Moreover, we have to be careful not to mess up the complex interactions going on in your body while you're transforming or after you become a chimera hybrid. For example, your new parts could be very allergic to something that you have no idea you are allergic to. You need to keep your immune system from attacking the transformed cells. Your body is constantly seeking out and destroying mutated cells, such as cancer cells, and your new tiger cells would appear as dangerous mutations on your immune system's radar. We can bypass some of these problems by using CRISPR-Cas9, which is a DNA editing protein instead of a virus. It can be programmed to swap out any specific line of your DNA or add additional elements to a string of DNA, kind of like rewriting or adding to a book. Of course, we still face the problem of how to get it into all of the right cells. Many of the cells we're trying to alter are right at the surface. To convince your skin cells to grow fur, we need a device that's a cross between a tattoo gun and a hypo spray. While you've mostly seen the latter on Star Trek, needle-free injectors are in common use in contexts where you're giving lots of inoculations in a hurry, like during a pandemic, or in the military. Ours could be much less powerful too, since we don't need it to reach the bloodstream. You just run it across your body, and it would puff that fluff-causing DNA right into your cells. It would just need to be programmed to select between orange and black fur DNA based on where it is on your body, so that your tiger stripes line up, and hey, if you miss a spot, you just go back right over it. Either way, this transformation would be relatively slow, like many months or even years. As your cells slowly alter their behavior, this gradual change is a good thing from a health standpoint, since you'd have time to adjust to your changing body. Think of it like electrolysis hair removal. It takes many visits to get the result that you want, but in this case, way more complicated because we're not killing pores and cells, we're adding to and changing them. In short, if you made it through puberty, you would probably make it through a properly designed furry gene therapy. Ethics is where things get fuzzy. Before you reach into that CRISPR drawer, a quick look at the ethical considerations. Having your kids be born as anthros when they obviously didn't ask for it is, of course, an ethics pitfall. It could open up an entirely new branch of angsty teen rock, though maybe let's avoid that. But unless you're also editing reproductive cells, your offspring would be born as humans, and their offspring would likewise be unaffected by your furry makeover. Altering yourself with DNA therapy, though, is a lot more ethically sound. Getting tiger ears wouldn't be that different on a moral level than getting a tattoo, of course. That assumes we've made the transition treatments as safe as getting a tattoo. It would be wise to avoid changing your brain during this process. Not only is your brain pretty complex compared to, say, your teeth, you'll also enter into some murky ethics territory when you start altering the mind of the person who agreed to the transformation in the first place. We just don't understand the brain as well as we need to do this safely, so you would be advised to just skip out on having tiger instincts, at least for the time being. Your instincts aren't super different from other vertebrates after all. So, like someone transitioning genders, you're going to be in it for a bit of a ride, hormonally speaking. To have this exact degree of targeting, you'd be using a protein like CRISPR-Cas9, which means you can't spread a virus turning everyone at school into a furry. You'll have to do that the old-fashioned way, by showing them Disney movies. Of course, you will have an awkward phase where you'll look like a half-moon werewolf man. Much like growing a beard, you might want to do it over a vacation. Safe, cheap, and reliable DNA editors would have a huge range of benefits. Curing HIV, cancer, or hemophilia with just a few injections would be a fantastic advancement. Got sickle cell anemia? Just program a virus to tell your bone marrow to make blood cells that work better. Turning into an anthro requires much less modification than, say, reversing the aging process. So your furry fixation could act as a stepping stone to immortality. That's it for Fursuit Future's Part 1. Join me next week, or whenever that's posted, for part 2, where we will talk about our next approach, retrofitting your current body with custom synthetic organs. I've been your host, RK. This has been the first installment of Fursuit Future's on Culturally Effed. The series is written by our writer Tempe Okun with the help from Nasido. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below what you would want to turn into, or if you think this is a terrible idea and has science gone too far. And don't forget, support Culturally Effed on Patreon to get early access to all of our future videos, where I will see you next in the future. What's more sciencey than lava lamps?